Welcome to Combat Sports Talk, a podcast dedicated to UFC and Bellator discussion, the MMA community, and combat sports in general. I'm your host, Ryan Smith, and joining me this week are our co-hosts, KC Onyebuchi and John, the Keys to Victory Keys. What's up, y'all?
Oh, hey there, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
How's it going, dude?
Hi, guys.
What's the lotion in the basket?
A little Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, that's what that's from?
Lotion in the basket. Yeah, Silence of the Lambs, man.
Yeah. All right.
That's a little Bill stop.
That's what we're doing. So it is International Fight Week is over, and we had an amazing card to finish it off. It is literally Christmas in the MMA world, and UFC 226 delivered with a card that looked like it was going to be ruined before it ever got started.
But it was not.
Yeah.
That's what counts.
Yes. Thanks to the God of War, the God of Fights.
That's right. That's right. But you had co-main event headliner Max Blessed Holloway, who was the featherweight champion. He got cut because he was on concussion protocol. You got main event challenger, light heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier, had a nasty fall and injured himself in the pre-fight press conference, and he limped off stage. It looked like it was going to be ruined.
Come on.
He talked about it.
He talked about it, but I'm saying there's a little bit of gamesmanship going on there. He was going to fight no matter what.
Okay. Well, yes, because Dana White would not have been able to lose his co-main and main event on International Fight Week card. Do you know, like that would be almost as bad as the card that we will not address where John Jones, backed out at the last minute and that card had to get canceled. Like, you don't cancel a card on International Fight Week.
Is that as bad as the destroyed card thanks to Conor McGregor?
Ooh.
Well, that,
I thought we weren't supposed to talk about these two fighters anyway.
Everything fell apart because of that.
Yeah, that one, okay. Yeah. But that card happened. The other card did not happen. You would not be, without the co-main event and without the main event, there's no way anyone would want to keep those tickets. So I'm glad that the event went off, and it gave us a historic night, and headlines that are dominating the newswire. I mean, I was building the run sheet, and there was one topic that I saw about 40 times before I saw something other than this topic, which we'll get into. So we're going to wrap up the UFC 226. We're going to hit the train yard for some hype trains, cover the headlines making waves, and then close out with fight cards that are planned for this weekend. Y'all ready to do this?
Yeah, ready for this.
All right. This is.
Let it happen, man.
I'm. Here we go. This is the official decision. The official decision. This is the official decision. This is where we look at the fights that were on this past weekend. Now, we're not going to cover the Ultimate Fighter finale, which was a great card, had a wonderful main event between the Stylebender versus Brad Tavares. So we're not going to cover that because we got so much to talk about at UFC 226, Miocic versus Cormier at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. The first thing to cover off is Max Holloway was out due to concussion type symptoms. He was pulled from Saturday's defense versus Brian Ortega because of concussion like symptoms, which appeared as he started his weight cut. The team and the UFC staff noticed that there were some issues. They rushed him to an emergency room on Monday and was released. But as he continued to prepare for the bout, he started displaying some symptoms, and they say he crashed after the open workouts. He was experiencing flashing vision, slurred speech, and Michael Bisping called him out during an interview on Fox Sports 1 asking if Holloway was actually going to fall asleep on him. Did you guys see any of the video about Max Holloway and how he was just sluggish in that interview?
No, I haven't seen any of that. That's kind of crazy though.
I actually did see the Michael Bisping interview,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw that. It was really noticeable about it, and I mean, good call on Michael Bisping. I mean, he actually looked out for him. And from what I've understand about the situation, they said it could have been a possible that he water poisoned himself, or he drank too much water. And they're saying that could have been possible. I haven't read much about it since the fight card, but the last time I read up on it, they're saying that it wasn't weight cut related, but it could have been the fact that he drank so much water that he might have poisoned himself, which it does happen. It's rare, but it does happen that you can drink too much water and you can make yourself sick.
Wow. So that's, whatever happened to Max Holloway, this is like the second time that he has been removed from a card because of some type of illness, injury, or something like that, not counting the card that we will not speak of. What made this worse is that Brian Ortega is now kind of caught between, not knowing what to do, because he actually got the title shot because Max Holloway got injured and he was a late fight replacement to fight Frankie Edgar. And then now Max Holloway was out for his fight. Frankie Edgar's slated to fight Jeremy Stevens, and now they're talking about giving Frankie Edgar and Jeremy Stevens the interim title. It's ridiculous.
Nuts. Yeah. There's no way that makes sense. I think you gotta give Brian a shot here. He's absolutely earned it. So I don't know how it's going to turn out, but that is how this card started, with this big news and this chaos. Not counting Daniel Cormier falling down at the pre-fight press conference. But this is the official decision. Let's get into the results. In the undercard, Paulo the Eraser Costa defeated Uriah Primetime Hall by knockout in round 2. How brutal was that knockout?
There was intent on that knockout. There was some serious intent. It was almost like, I don't like you, I don't care about you. It wasn't anger, but it was definitely I don't like you type hit.
There you go.
I just had that moment of boom, rocked him.
and that was the truth. Now, the interesting thing about this is that this fight ended in the second round, but Dana White, who has always been critical of Uriah Hall, actually said in the post-fight press conference that Uriah Hall exhibited the type of skill and athleticism that he expected from Uriah Hall after his stint on The Ultimate Fighter. That we know that Uriah Hall's career has kind of been up and down, but the Uriah Hall that we saw on Saturday night was the prototypical guy that got Dana White excited. Are you finally satisfied, KC, that Dana White is finally giving Uriah Hall his due?
I'm glad that he did. I just would like to see that next go around, because Dana White's a fickle guy. You just never know. If Uriah Hall has a slow start, then all of a sudden Uriah Hall is the worst thing that he's ever seen.
So
I have to agree.
Okay, all right. Because, one of the things I'm thinking about is I wonder what impact the criticism has to forcing the fighter to fight harder in the next fight, to prove a point, to show Dana White that they can deliver an exciting fight. Is there some type of motivating factor the criticism from Dana White brings after a poor performance?
I would doubt it, because if you look at Tyron Woodley, like the guy's slow starts and the criticism he takes, it's usually not his fault. It's, you got to fight the guy who's in front of you. And if he gives you a stylistic matchup that forces it to be a sluggish fight, at the end of the day, your main goal is to win, no matter how that looks. Well, I think it's tough for you to use Tyron Woodley as an example, though, because what happened is he had a great fight two great fights against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, came out and laid an egg versus Damian Maia, and then promptly went on hiatus because of a surgery that he got to his shoulder. So we haven't seen Tyron Woodley after the criticism. I mean, we've heard a lot from him, and we know how frustrated he was because his previous performances were all outstanding. But we have an opportunity coming up at the end of this year versus Colby Covington to see whether or not Tyron Woodley is going to put on the show. John, do you think this is motivating, that Dana White motivates his fighters with the criticism?
Yes, and it's funny that you guys bring this conversation up because it segues to a later fight in there where Uncle Dana lets his opinion be known, and I think that will be a motivating factor for the two fighters that we will be talking about later on.
All right, well, let's keep it going. You got Khalil Roundtree Jr. defeating Gokhan the Rebel Saki by knockout in round one. I didn't have Roundtree picked. I had Gokhan Saki. Roundtree didn't have a resume that I thought was all that impressive, but now he does.
It only takes one fight to get you that recognition, change things up for you, and I think this was it for Khalil.
That's right.
Definitely. He wasn't on my radar. I had Gokhan, because I was like, hey, he sounds like Goku. Let's go with this guy. Yeah, about that. Roundtree. Hey, I want to see what he does. He's caught my interest. He hasn't gotten my attention, but he's caught my interest.
All right. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about whether or not he's going to pick up a couple of passengers on the hype train coming up a little bit later on in the show. Anthony Showtime Pettis defeated Michael the Maverick Chiesa via submission in round 2. Showtime's showing some Brazilian jiu-jitsu. This is not common. I mean, we know he's got it in his repertoire, but I mean, all we ever see is that Showtime kick versus Benson Henderson in WEC. We don't actually see him doing anything like submissions and things like that. Were you guys surprised that Pettis has returned? People are saying this is the second coming of Showtime Pettis.
Surprise, definitely, but I'm really excited for it because he did need to change his game up in order to bring back his career. A lot of people were saying that he didn't have the heart anymore, that he wasn't really fighting for the top spot. But this performance definitely changes people's minds a bit.
I agree. I've always been a fan of both Pettis and Henderson. And just to see them kind of take a slide there like they did, it was actually breaking my heart. I'm glad he's coming back. I hope this is the next evolution for him. I hope he does use the ground game as much as he uses his striking game. I mean, he needs that if he wants to be back on top.
So here's the thing for me. I'm gonna call BS on Anthony Pettis. This isn't the type of guy that gives him trouble. Michael Chiesa is a submission specialist. So the fact that he submitted him is impressive, but the type of guy that give Anthony Pettis a hard time is a wrestler, a pure ground and pound, pressure you type wrestler. Until I see Anthony Pettis do that, beat up a wrestler, I'm saying it's fake. So, as much as I like Anthony Pettis as a fighter and the things that he can do, I'm not saying that he is back until I see him beat a wrestler handily.
All right. Well, we'll see what's in store for Showtime.
Platinum Mike Perry defeated Paul the Irish Dragon Felder via unanimous decision. This was a war. I don't like Mike Perry, but dadgummit, that was a fight.
I'm going to say it like this, okay? As a Paul Felder fan, okay, he cannot be called the Irish Dragon anymore. He is now Paul, that guy that got beat by Platinum Felder, okay? That's his new nickname. You're right. It was a war. It was back and forth, and it was rock'em sock'em. I was loving it, but dang it, put another takedown in there somewhere to secure a win, man. You don't want to be known as that dude that got beat by Platinum. Okay, that's just how it is. No matter who you are, you don't want to be that dude.
There it is. I mean, the thing is Mike Perry now seems to think that he is back on track and chasing, a championship title shot. I don't, as much as I like Paul Felder, I don't know that he's built that Perry has built enough of a resume to put him in that conversation. KC, do you think Mike Perry's in any type of conversation as a contender?
No.
Enough said.
Yeah, no, not even close.
All right. In the co-main event, Derek the Black Beast Lewis defeated Francis the Predator Ngannou via unanimous decision. This is a fight that we thought was literally going to be Rampage in the cage. And when I talk about Rampage, I'm talking about the video game where you know.
Yeah.
See? Okay. Actually, isn't there a movie coming out?
It's already out, actually.
Is already direct to video? I didn't see it.
Showboxing it. Man.
Okay, so we thought this was going to be one of the most brutal and devastating, a fight that was going to knock the earth off its axis, and it was not. Basically, Francis Ngannou threw only 17 punches the entire fight. That was 3 rounds, 17 punches. That's pretty bad.
It's nuts, but there's some realities that have to be looked at there. It's the fact that you've got 2 of the hardest punching dudes on the planet going after each other, both of them knowing that it takes one shot from the other. And so they're playing it safe. You hear Derek talking about he knew exactly what the gameplay needed to be, but couldn't execute it because of his back, which has continued to be an issue. But just the fact that he has no ground game. Everyone knows that if you take Ngannou to the ground, like, it's game over. And so Derek, knowing that Ngannou's only hope in the fight was to counterpunch his right hand, like, of course he was going to hold back throwing that. So as a fan, like, yeah, you want to see more action. But as someone who actually cares about the sport of MMA, like, it makes sense. The gamemanship was there. Like, these were 2 dudes who weren't just meatheads throwing. Like, there was a strategy being implemented, and sure, it doesn't make for the best show, the best spectacle, but that's true sports right there, where there's a plan being implemented throughout the entirety of the fight.
John,
it's not always going to look like 2 guys throwing hands.
John, what was your reaction to that fight?
Okay, so I got about probably 36, so I'm trying to squeeze it all in here. Okay, so that fight right there was billed across the world as a rock'em sock'em of rock'em sock'ems. They got in there, and I was shocked to see how much respect they had for each other's power. With that said, that was the worst fight in heavyweight that I've ever seen, because they had too much respect for their power. I get it. You're right, Casey. From a person who understands MMA, it was a tactical decision. I understood every feint, every jab that they try to throw, but the problem is, you are a fighter. You go in there with the understanding that that somebody is getting knocked out. Okay, y'all both know what y'all can do. The first person that lands it all, that commits, has to be the winner. If not, you're going to be the loser. That's how it should have been. That fight shouldn't have went out. That should have been a 1-rounder. That should have been the time that the referees, that the judges, should have went up and got coffee, because it shouldn't have lasted more than 5 minutes, in my opinion.
Well, there it is.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, both of them had too much on the line, though. Come on.
Yeah, but
they did. But
for me, it's just like this. No one wants to be the one to raise their hand and say, yes, I'll be the one that gets knocked out in this fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, the fact is that if either one of them got knocked out, there isn't that far to fall. The heavyweight division is so light that, I mean, so what if you get knocked out? You're 1 fight, 2 fights, and you're back into the conversation of a title shot. There's not enough talent there, so why not go in there and try to get that finish? Except for the fact that, yeah, you might get your block knocked off if you commit too much and leave it. KC, you wanted to talk a little bit about Derek Lewis's post-fight.
Yeah, so Derek Lewis, he made me a fan of the sport again. Like I was losing it, and I think we lost a little more just because it was going to this WWE style of braggadocious and just people making ridiculous claims. Like the humility shown by Derek and Francis at the end of the fight as they kind of broke down what happened. Like, first of all, I love that Derek was able to completely lay out his game plan. It's like, look, the very first game plan we had was to take down Francis. I don't know how to do that. So it's like, it's hilarious. Like, come on. Like, I mean, I get it. Like, you've made your career on being an all-out brawler. So yeah, you don't know how to do that. But then as he talked about the strategy and knowing where his weakness is, when he throws his punch, he puts his head down and he leaves his chin exposed. Like, his ability to break down his flaws and why the fight had to go that way made me a fan. Like, I can't be mad at someone who had a plan to go in and win, and it just didn't look pretty. So he was honest about it, said that this wasn't a great performance, and he knows that he doesn't deserve a title shot after this. Like, I get the humility in it, but I don't necessarily agree that it has set him back 2 fights because, like, yes, this is about money, but as a sport, you did the right thing. And so I appreciated all of his remarks, the candor that he had with the press. There was nothing fictitious and fake about it like we saw in the Brock Lesnar encounter. Like, this was what a real sports interview should be.
All right. And John, I'll give you the last word with this. Go ahead.
Okay, so Casey's absolutely right. Okay, both men came out there. Both men sat there and said, you know, they laid it out. They were honest. You are absolutely right. Derek Lewis sat there and he was humble, and we need more warriors that are humble. However, Uncle Dana came in there and said what he said. Okay, whether you want to agree with it or not, he said it. I guarantee that type of fight will not happen again with those 2 fighters. Okay, they are gonna. I guarantee their next fight, they're gonna be motivated to be killing machines. And you know, and they will learn from this. And I hope that they get better. I hope that Derek Lewis does learn a ground game. I hope Francis Ngannou, you know, overcomes that quote unquote fear that he brought in from the last fight. So you know, one can only tell. Time will tell. All right. So that's my 30 seconds.
All right, excellent. And just so that we can be clear, what Dana White said about that was that he said this card was what the heck? Okay. So
is that what he said?
He said HBO now.
Yeah.
I just what I wanted to do was pull up the comments because John, you said that Dana White said what he said, but I wanted to make sure that we were clear about what Dana White actually said. But
okay.
But what
they are who we thought they were.
He said HBO now. What he said was he said that the fight, the card was great. They had one bad fight. He called it an abomination. He said that card that will never happen again. And so I think you're right, John, in the fact that I think he did light a fire under Derek Lewis and Francis Ngannou, who Francis Ngannou wrote out today that he wasn't proud of his performance, that he carried fear from his last fight versus Miocic into this one. He understands the frustration and anger that he caused the fans, coaches, and teammates, and he apologized for that. He said he won't let anyone down again. He's got to prove himself and make himself proud. So there we go. We wrap up the co-main event, and now it's...
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening.
So, Daniel Cormier defeated Stipe Miocic via knockout in the first round. You know what? What I got to say is I had Daniel Cormier. John, who'd you have?
I actually did have Daniel Cormier. I watched the weigh-ins, and I was like, okay, he's winning.
KC, who'd you have?
I had Dana White. I'm mad that you had this whole thing queued up. You had no intention of hearing that.
Yes, that's right. You had Stipe Miocic. You have to eat crow. There it is.
Well played. That's on me.
how could you? I mean, you knew that Daniel was going to win. You really did know, didn't you? You just
No. In my heart, here's what I believed. Like, Daniel was going to come in heavy. I knew he was going to come in heavy, and I thought that would slow him down considerably. Like, I mean, a diet of Popeye's chicken and cake will only take you so far. So, I really figured that the conditioning involved was going to take Stipe over the top. Plus he's a natural heavyweight, so I figured he'd just throw some heavy hands, and DC wouldn't want that. Because we saw him get the snot knocked out of him before. Like, we've seen him fall twice on one punch. So DC, I wouldn't say has the strongest chin ever. So I was really hoping Stipe would take advantage.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, because I saw and he told everybody how he was going to do it. He told everybody, I'm used to fighting guys that size. And when you have a person like DC who's a quintessential fighter, we'll talk about the hype train later. I will say it now. He is the quintessential fighter. He is the guy that's going to make every other fighter better for being in there. We just got a short time with them left, maybe. So he's got a lot of work to do to try and elevate these fighters to motivate them to be on that level.
There it is. Let's talk about the fight real quick. Fight starts off. It goes quick, man. There wasn't much to say about it. They get in. DC presses the action. Starts to grapple with Stipe Miocic. Gets inside. Miocic doesn't keep his hands up. Quick right hook puts him on the mat. Finishes him off with some strikes standing up. That's the way. Did you see Stipe's face after the fight?
It was nasty. It was
like,
but I love it.
Wow. Yeah.
He got beat up.
So much props to Daniel on this, because Daniel predicted exactly how the fight was going to end. He went to the same combination that he loves to use in the clinch, going for the uppercut, but he added on to it, knowing that Stipe's hands were going to be down, and that hook caught him. And man, again, this is what makes me a fan of UFC. It's the strategy that goes into it. It's not just two meatheads throwing punches. Like, this was well executed. Like, Daniel just baited it into the situation and took full advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely. He did bait him, and it was a beautiful bait, because I had to watch it replay 3 times before I saw he actually did that. He actually did an underhook slip and dropped his body down on the left side, and Stipe went for it. And when he did, it was just like his face was like, here it is, right here. And Daniel put the nastiest spit on that fist and hit him with it. And it was just boom, it's over. You know, he could have just walked off. He could have did a Mark Hunt and walked off at that point.
That would have been nasty.
Yes. Oh, man, that would have been beautiful.
Yeah, instead he dropped a couple of bombs just to put a stamp on it, and there it is. And new heavyweight champion. Now, after the fight, Joe Rogan comes in, gives him the mic, and Daniel Cormier calls out, sitting in the stands, one Brock Lesnar, calls him to the ring, starts talking smack to Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar pushes DC, and it looks like pandemonium was getting ready to break loose.
Yeah, it also looked like the start of a WWE event.
Now, see, that part right there, everybody, I've read it, the comment that they're saying that was fake and it was staged. I don't think it was, because it was one of DC's coaches was sitting right there. He, 5'5". He tried to push on Brock, and he bounced off of him. And Brock didn't even acknowledge him at that point. Okay, he had his eyes directly on DC, and it was not the pretty eyes. It was the eyes like, you called me up here, we can do this now. And the intensity that you saw there, I'm gonna say it was not fake. I think it was real, and it was Brock trying to punk DC. But like DC says, you push me now, you'll be napping later. Okay.
Yeah, from DC's perspective,
I'm a culprit.
he lays it out in his post-fight interview afterwards in the press conference. And so from DC's perspective, this is 100% real. Like, this was an actual threat, and Brock had been kind of stalking him the entire day, starting with DC's warm-ups. So it was natural for DC to go in there and truly he was defending himself. But from Brock's perspective, like, this is all about a paycheck. Like, let's be honest, the guy is not a real MMA athlete. Like, without the steroids, I really believe that John Jones could take him. So this is all about a money move for him, and he's got to build up his hype in the press for this fight. So that's all it was for Brock. But for DC, I take nothing away for him stepping up and playing the game.
So the last thing I'd like to say about this, and then we're gonna move on, is
Okay.
DC and Brock Lesnar have a relationship outside of the ring/cage. That Brock has gotten DC and his family free tickets to WWE shows. They've taken pictures together. There is an existing relationship. They know each other. So, personally, I think what was going on is Daniel Cormier called Brock to the ring as kind of one of those impulsive type things that you do. Like, okay, you've been following me, you're here. I've heard all the talk about you coming to the back to the UFC and all that kind of stuff. All right, big man, I'm going to call you out, because I think personally that this was more of a slight to John Jones, who called out Brock Lesnar, and less of one to Brock Lesnar.
I like that.
The thing is that the only person out of John Jones and Daniel Cormier who actually can have a shot at Brock Lesnar legitimately is Daniel Cormier, which he said, I've got all the cards. I'm holding all the cards. And so I think he was surprised when he called Brock Lesnar to the ring and Brock pushes him. He wasn't expecting that, and he didn't really know how to react after that, and you could see the surprise on his face. So much as I called it fake, I don't think that after listening to Daniel Cormier in the post-fight press conference, I don't think it was fake, but I think that it was more a slight to John Jones than it was to try to create some type of WWE type of scenario in the octagon that night.
Well, I think it's safe to say that by tonight, I think John Jones has thrown all the furniture that he had in his house in the pool by now. Okay, he might have thrown one of his kids in the pool too. They're like, "Daddy, hey!" And it's I'm pretty sure he is on 11 right now. He cannot be consoled for any reason right now. Okay,
yeah, he ruined his own life. Yeah,
there it is.
Yeah.
All right. So let's close the book on this one. Let's put it on the shelf, because this card is history. And what is that? What is that I hear? That must be a hype train.
The hype train.
All right, the hype train is the segment where we look at the fighters who had great nights on Saturday night, and then we decide whether or not we are going to jump on the bandwagon, which we call the hype train. The first one on the list, I know I said I wasn't going to cover The Ultimate Fighter, but I did want to give you, John, a chance to get on the Israel Adesanya, a.k.a. the Stylebender hype train.
Yeah, I'm on it. I have a shirt. I'll take it. He's proven himself to be a formidable foe in the ring. I want to see more. He needs to be in the top 10. He needs to be in the top 5. He's 17 and 1. People, come on, give him top 5.
Well, the guy who he wants to fight next is also on the hype train list. That's Paulo Costa. KC, are you on the Paulo Costa hype train?
Only because it is not fair for a man to look that attractive and be able to beat people to death. Like, that's not even fair. Leave something for us mere mortals. Like, come on, fam. Like, I have to be on the hype train just because I'm afraid he might fight me. Like, that's not fair.
Get on my hype train or feel the wrath.
Like, come on, Paulo.
John, you on the Costa hype train?
Man, his lip was so big that he was licking at the entire conversation the interview that he was having at the end. I was distracted, dude. So I'm gonna say give him one more fight, and if he makes it out, if his lip isn't that swollen like it was, I'll get on the hype train. But right now, dude, you gotta do something with that lip, because that whole lip licking thing, it threw me off, dude. I'm sorry.
All right. For me, Paulo Costa, I've seen him fight 2 fights, both of them pretty brutal knockouts. I think he's the real deal. I'm on the hype train. Khalil Roundtree Jr. What do y'all think, John? I'm gonna let you go first. Khalil Roundtree Jr.
He's piqued my interest. He does not have my attention yet.
All right.
Give him a little bit of time. He'll be on there if he keeps doing what he's doing.
All right, KC.
I fully concur with that. Give this young man some more time to prove himself.
Yeah, I agree. Gokhan Saki is a nice feather in the cap, but other than that, he hasn't really done enough to impress me. So I'm going to keep my eye on him. I got my ticket in the pocket. We'll wait for that train to come back around. Anthony Pettis.
I'm not impressed by your performance.
That's right. And speaking of not impressed by performance, I am not on the Anthony Pettis Showtime hype train, but I'm going to give you guys a chance to make a decision if you're going to believe that this man is back.
Fine. I think he's on the right path. But say
he's
that
on the right track, perhaps.
Oh, check out this wordsmith. I'm thinking of what you're putting down. I'm not fully there yet. He's got to show me a string of victories that actually puts him back into contention.
All right, John.
You are absolutely right, because he needs to fight a wrestler. He does need to fight a wrestler to impress us that he's back on it. That's the only way he's going to go to the next evolution, is if he takes down a wrestler.
There it is. Next one, train coming through the station. It is a platinum train. I'm talking about Platinum Mike Perry. Any of y'all on that train?
Nope.
No love for Platinum Mike.
Not dignifying this one.
All right. I'm going to let that train go by.
2 for center.
I'm going to let that one go by. Derek Lewis, the Black Beast.
It's hard not to like this dude. It's really hard not to like this dude. It doesn't, because it's not about. We often say, and we say this to all the little kids. It's not how you lose. It's how you rise up from that loss. Okay. I'm going to be watching out for him. I want, because he was humble in victory. He was humble in defeat. He was he's very honest and open about it. It's hard not to love this man.
Wait. What defeat? What are you talking about?
I'll get on it.
What defeat are you talking about?
You can't really call it a win.
He won in losing,
No, he won the fight.
He won the fight, but still.
No, not in my book.
Okay.
It was a draw in my book.
Okay, all right.
It was a draw in my. I'm sorry. Okay, all right. So technical W. Okay, he did win. Okay, technically, but and let's be honest, that was a draw. That was a draw fight. Okay, the only reason why he won was because he punched more, I believe. Okay, that's my.
Technically more active. Yeah.
Yeah,
so I'm going to be a fan of Derek Lewis. I'm going to stay on his hype train just because I think if he's able to drop weight and become more agile and has less back issues, I think his doctor said he's got to drop 25 pounds to aid with his back issues. I think that makes him faster, more agile, and he already has mentioned that he is going to be focused on developing a ground game. I don't see any downside. I don't think he's going to lose that punching power that's made him dangerous.
Well, I'm going to tell you like this. I have not been on the hype train for Derek Lewis, and I'm still not on the hype train for Derek Lewis. He's a fellow Texan. He's from Houston. But let me tell you like this. He's got no ground game. He's got a bad back. And the fact is that you can't be a legitimate well-rounded fighter if you can't be a contender if you're not a well-rounded fighter, and he's not. And so if he can't even execute takedowns because of his back, I'm sorry, that's too much of a weakness for me.
I thought you would root for him. I thought you would root for him because that's basically describing you. You're old, you're overweight, bad back. Come on now.
And ladies and gentlemen, here comes the digs. All
Shots
right.
fired. Shots fired.
Well, I'll say it like this, okay? I'm agreeing with Ryan.
No,
Where you at,
Casey.
Drake?
I wanted to let Mr. Keys have his word. Thank you.
Thank you. I was trying to say it too, but you know what Ryan is saying is right. Okay, but that also exposes the weakness of the heavyweight division. That you have a phenomenal fighter at the very top of the mountain. You have phenomenal fighters throughout, but we need fighters like Derek Lewis that are good guys, that are really good guys to up their game. You're right. He needs to lose the weight. I don't know how heavy did he come in on that fight? Was it like he weighed in what 250 something, maybe?
No,
I think he might have been a little more than that, but yeah.
Yeah. So he definitely needs to lose the weight. He needs to cover his back issue, and then he needs to train. Okay, because we can't. While it's entertaining to have Rock'em Sock'em, we need fighters. We need real fighters in the heavyweight division. Yeah, my 2 cents. Okay, you can continue with the burn now. All right, I'm out.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and just gonna move forward with this. Francis Ngannou. We have been on the Francis Ngannou hype train. I wanted to pull this train back in the station so I can get off.
Oh wow!
I'm off the hype train for Francis Ngannou.
Wow.
Yes, he punches hard, but the dude, I believe Dana White when Dana White said that he's got an attitude problem, that his ego after knocking out Alistair Overeem went to the stratosphere, and that's why we saw a lame fight against Stipe Miocic and then came back with this scaredy cat fight versus Derek Lewis. I'm talking about this. If you're going to be a warrior, be a warrior. Come in there, fight, and win those fights. Because if he would have knocked out Derek Lewis, if he would have shown a dominant performance against Derek Lewis, then we wouldn't be talking about Brock Lesnar and Daniel Cormier right now. We would be talking about Francis Ngannou versus Daniel Cormier. And I am just I'm done. I'm off this train. Come back around later when you can put together some fights that's worthwhile talking about.
I'm still on it, and here's why. I think Francis just suffered from stardom too fast. I don't think that it's a true attitude problem as Dana characterizes it, because Francis came back and was like, look, honestly, I was scared. And coming from what he had to lose, it makes sense in the style that he was fighting. Like if he goes out and gasses himself a second time, he's done. Like he's never gonna get another shot. So he fought the fight that he thought he had to fight in order to win, and it failed him miserably. I think he's going to have the right people in his camp to get his mind right. So I'm still on it. Still on it. Francis has got this.
John.
I'm on it. I'm going to stay on it. Okay. Just because I truly believe in what Ngannou said. He said that he was fighting with fear. Okay. Let's see what the next fight produces. Okay, because you can fight with fear. The fear is all right, but if you continue to do the same performance time and time again, it becomes a habit. It's a programming now. Okay, you need to be better. I don't think we need a guy that's inconsistent like that, and I do believe that it was partly due to him knocking out Overeem. Okay, I do believe that, but now, okay. You're resting on your laurels. You got to do better. You got to come up. You got to go back to being the monster that everybody fears. Because right now you're the monster that everybody's laughing at.
Oh well, I tell you like this. I hope they give Francis Ngannou Curtis Blades. I got Curtis Blades all day. I'm picking him right now. Curtis Blades versus Francis Ngannou. UFC, set that fight up. I'm going to show you fear. Francis Ngannou, he's not the real deal. Let's go to the last one. The GOAT train. I gotta do this. The GOAT train. Is Daniel Cormier the GOAT? Are you guys getting on this whole GOAT hype train for Daniel Cormier? That's all people are talking about. He's the GOAT.
Yeah.
I think he's earned his spot in the conversation. Is he the GOAT? No.
So you're not on that. You're not on the GOAT hype train.
I'll be on it.
I mean, record. He's 14-0 as a heavyweight.
Mm-hmm.
The dude doesn't lose as a heavyweight. He's got a great resume at light heavyweight. But to make you the greatest of all time, like, sure, you beat a guy who was top of, like, longest, most title defenses at heavyweight. But how many was that really?
3.
Like, yeah, I mean, how impressive is that?
Not.
Yeah. And so
It's not.
So yeah, he's a great fighter, but the greatest that we've ever seen? No, not really.
I will counterpoint that. I think he is there. He's definitely in the conversation. I think he's the greatest of all time at heavyweight. I will say that. I think that he's undefeated as heavyweight. The only way that we really beat him, that he was really beaten, was by a juiced up monster. Okay, that takes cocaine right the week before the fight. Okay, if you really look at it. So if you eliminate that man has an undefeated record. So why can't we call him the greatest of all time? Why can't we call this man, if he defends his belt successfully at heavyweight, and then successfully defends it at light heavyweight one more time, I won't be mad when he goes in the ring with Brock Lesnar and Brock Lesnar, catches a juice rage and splits him in half.
My thing though, for why Cormier can't be, it's like if you look at some of the others that are in the conversation for greatest of all time, like Demetrius Johnson, if Anderson Silva, these are guys who could beat you in dang near any style that they wanted on any given day.
Yes.
Cormier is like a really good wrestler who's figured out his hands. A world-class wrestler who's figured out his hands. Like, he's not an amazing fighter. He just gets it done.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Okay, well, I was just going to say, but isn't that what makes a fighter a great fighter, is when he recognizes his strengths and weaknesses and uses them to his fullest ability?
How dare you use logic in this argument? How dare you?
Here's my thing, is that in order to be considered the greatest of all time, and I've said this many times, you have to win. You have to win titles to be even thought of as the greatest of all time. But you can't just be a winner. And I'm sorry, but Daniel Cormier is really just a winner. I mean, he does some, his color commentary. He's great on the mic. I think that's fantastic. But so is Dominic Cruz. So is a lot of these other fighters. Michael Bisping is great on the mic as an analyst. I mean, there's Dan Hardy is a great analyst. So what is it that Daniel Cormier does that actually sets him apart from other fighters? Because if it's just winning, other fighters win. George St. Pierre wins. Yep. George St. Pierre also has, people are like, oh, Daniel Cormier is a 2 champion. Yeah, he is currently holding 2 belts concurrently. But George St. Pierre won a belt at middleweight and he won a belt at welterweight. I don't think that sets Daniel Cormier apart. I always go back to, how did you fundamentally change the game? And Daniel Cormier has not fundamentally changed the game. I love him. He's a great fighter. I will pick him in every fight but one. And he is a great fighter. He is a Hall of Fame fighter. There's a ton of accolades that we can put on him. GOAT is not one of them. And so for me, Daniel Cormier will go down in history as one of the greatest fighters that we've ever seen. But when we say of all time, I think there's only one person that fits the bill on that, and it's not Daniel Cormier.
Who is it?
Do we have to get into this? Do you really want to get into this?
I realize.
I just want to hear a name. I want a name.
Combat Sports Talk.
Okay,
all right. Talk about why Matt Serra is the GOAT.
You see, you know what now? Because, all right, so John, I'm going to tell you like this. KC has, for years, used my hatred of Czech Congo to push my buttons. And I finally, protected myself where he can say Czech Congo and it doesn't get my blood boiling. But now it's this Matt Serra thing that Matt Serra got into the Hall of Fame, was inducted on Saturday night, and frankly, or was it Friday night? I think it was Friday night. Either way, this weekend, Matt Serra is in the Hall of Fame with his accolades is that he beat George St. Pierre, which very few people can say that, but that is all he can literally say. I'm sorry. To your point, the person that I consider to be the greatest of all time is Royce Gracie. Royce Gracie is the greatest of all time because he is a man who fought as a 170 pounder, probably a 155er, but 170, in a time when there were no weight classes, there were no time limits, and he fundamentally changed the game. In order to be a complete fighter in the UFC today, you have to have some level of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in your arsenal. If you do not, you will get caught. And that is all due in part to Royce Gracie. So for me, Royce Gracie is the greatest of all time because of the fact that if you want to be a well-rounded contender for a title, you have to have some jiu-jitsu in your repertoire. And that is I credit Royce Gracie with that. Let's go right into finding the angles.
Finding the angles.
This is Finding the Angles. This is where we look at the news and events that are getting attention in the UFC and the rest of the MMA world. Want to wrap up UFC 223 with a couple of headlines. The first one is DC says that he plans to fight 2 more times, ending with a fight in March. He will retire after his 40th birthday. This could be the end of an era, folks. It's coming up. 2 fights left.
It's bad for the UFC because he's just now getting popular. But it's sad. Like, I'm excited for DC because his last 2 fights might turn into his biggest paydays ever. And he's not ever going to reach that Conor McGregor money, but he's finally earning the money that he should.
I'm happy for him. He, it's happy and it's sad. It's a little bit bittersweet that he's finally got to that pinnacle where he can say, I've done this. I've climbed the mountain. However, if John Jones comes off a suspension before he retires, he's going to go after him. And we may squeeze another fight out of him. He sits there and says, I'm past this, and, I'm hold all the cards. He is a jilted lover right now. Okay, I've said it before, I'll say it again. John Jones is that one that got away. And as long as he stays away, he'll be fine. But the moment that John Jones comes back into his life in that octagon ring, promise you, he will do everything he can to get him in that ring. And he has the ability to do it now because he has both belts that John Jones won. So, mark my words. If John Jones comes off a suspension before March, he will squeeze a 3rd fight in.
All right, you heard it here first. But that last fight, that second fight, that fight in March, it's going to be Brock Lesnar. Dana White said the UFC will be making the DC versus Brock Lesnar fight once Brock comes off of USADA suspension. It's likely going to be in 2019. I think it's January when Brock comes off of suspension. So it's right in time for a March title fight, as the run sheet says. The fight. DC opens as a heavy favorite already against Brock.
That's because everyone knows that Brock isn't a real fighter anymore. He's old and big and slow.
I'll give you 2 out of 3. Excuse me. I'll give you 2 out of 3. He's old and big. I don't think he's slow. I think he's got a little speed left in him.
Yeah, I think training for is it even WWE anymore? What do they call that wrestling?
It's still called WWE. I checked the website.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that training is way different from what it takes to be a real fighter, and taking 6 months to become a real fighter is not enough.
So here's the thing. Brock Lesnar turns 41 on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Cormier is 39. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, I think Daniel Cormier is starting to realize that there are limitations that come with age. Now, KC, being a young buck like yourself, you don't know what you have in store for you. But I can say,
are you kidding? I'm icing my knee as we're doing this show. I am old.
So the thing is that Daniel Cormier is starting to realize that he cannot compete at this level for too much longer, and so it's better to end on top than it is to end the way a Chuck Liddell or Tito Ortiz did. So I think Brock Lesnar may be he may be past the expiration date here, coming into his 41st birthday, almost 42 by the time he faces Daniel Cormier in March.
But that's not what matters in this fight. All that matters is Brock brings a payday for both of them. Like, we all know that Brock's not going to be at the top of his game, but we just want to see what he can do against a real fighter.
Yeah, that sounds exactly what they said the first time around. And, and Brock is not going to bring a payday. He's going to bring the payday, okay? You say Brock Lesnar, people go apes. On it, because he is that draw. People remember how he went through a lot of people, through the 6-7 people that he fought, and people tend to forget how he manhandled a lot of those fighters. A lot of those fighters were experienced vets, okay, and they weren't truly out the pasture just then, okay. I expect to see him, get back in shape, in fighting shape, not wrestling shape, and I expect him to go in there and do some damage. I mean, this is not the fight that I would want, DC to go out on, but Spartans died at the hot gates too.
Okay, so John, I have to disagree with you though, because I have the luxury of being able to pull up Brock Lesnar's record, and so when you start looking at the fighters he's fought and the people that you were saying. He's run through Heath Herring.
A veteran fighter.
Okay, Heath Herring, who's
that confidence left real quick, didn't it?
Okay, so let's look at Frank Mir.
Okay. No. But you got Heath Herring, you got Randy Couture, who's an undersized fighter. Remember, he was actually a light heavyweight, so coming in there against Brock Lesnar was not a good thing. Frank Mir, he's a legitimate name, but Frank Mir's career had started to go down at about this point. Shane Carwin lost that fight because he gassed out before Brock did. His next fight, Cain Velasquez finished him. His next fight, Alistair Overeem, Alistair finished him. And then Brock didn't fight again till Mark Hunt, where his fight was considered a no contest because of he roided. So Brock does not have a great resume. Frank Mir is the top of his resume.
I would say Randy Couture, even though you say that he was an undersized fighter when he walked in there. Randy Couture walked in there. Okay, once again, if you walk in that ring and they close that gate, you said, I am 100% prepared for whatever happens. Okay, he went in there. 80%. It was more like, we'll give him 80, 75. 75%. It was bad. That hit was bad.
Ryan knew what I was doing.
You got that. Cameroon Usman right there.
I just stepped in a joke that I wasn't prepared for. Okay. Okay, but okay. Touche. You got me. All right, so we will see. I'm gonna be optimistic here that we're gonna see a great fight, and maybe we will say. I'm gonna hold out hope that DC runs in there and mauls them. But logic says, Brock Lesnar picks him up on the head, over his head, splits, rips him in half.
No.
You see the words fatality up there.
No. It is not going to go that way. But we have almost a whole year to wait for that fight. The World MMA Awards was on this weekend as well, presented by Fighters Only magazine. The 2018 edition of the World MMA Awards took place at the Pearl in the Palms at Las Vegas, Nevada, this past weekend. Few notable awards that were won. Charles Mask Lewis, you might remember him. He was the part of the Tap Out team that passed away, prematurely. He has the Fighter of the Year award, was awarded to Max Holloway. Female Fighter of the Year was someone named Thug Rose No Hair Yama-Yunis. Breakthrough Fighter of the Year, Brian T. City Ortega. International Fighter of the Year was Robert Whitaker. Fight of the Year, Eddie Alvarez versus Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje had some few choice words for Conor McGregor. You can look it up because I can't say it on the podcast. Knockout of the Year was Francis Ngannou versus Alistair Overeem. Submission of the Year, Demetrius Johnson and the Mousetrap of Ray Borg. Upset of the Year was someone named Rose Thug No Hair Namajunas, who upset Joanna Jędrzejczyk at UFC 217. Gym of the Year was American Top Team, and I want to say MMA Journalist of the Year, Mr. Ariel Helwani. I thought that was pretty cool that there is an Oscars for MMA.
Yeah, I dig it.
All right.
And there was no robberies this year. That's great.
There it is. I wanted to also call this one out. Black Panther star, he played the role of M'Baku. He's jumping into the MMA cage.
Real quick, it's M'Baku.
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 Hey, I'm from Texas. You're lucky.
What?
You're lucky I didn't say M'Baku. M'Baku.
Pretty much did.
Black Panther star M'Baku.
This is BBC World News.
This is BBC World News. He's jumping into the cage, KC.
I'd fight him.
Yeah, he'd beat you too. But he will be playing the role of Kimbo Slice in a biopic about his life. So he's not really going to be competing. He is going to be playing the role of Kimbo Slice. I'm pretty excited about that. I don't think it's going to be a good movie at all, but
that is straight to DVD.
Wow, boy!
All of Kimbo's.
I'm sorry. Don't want to speak.
Kimbo's fights. This is straight to DVD.
It was on bootleg when I caught up to it, man. Heck, we're gonna get it on. Get it on Pirates Day, people. That's where it's going to be at. Shortly after it comes out, it'll be on Pirates Day. Yeah.
All right. Hey, charges were dropped against Volkan Ozdemir this week. The UFC light heavyweight contender had charges dismissed on Monday. We covered this story, probably about 6 or 8 months ago, where Volkan Ozdemir was arrested outside of a Florida bar where he knocked a dude out and had the dude unconscious for like 30 seconds. Guy had to have 14 staples in his head. Basically, according to the state attorney's office, the case has ruled they no longer wanted to pursue the charge. Basically, the lack of cooperation from the victim. That means that Volkan Ozdemir is free and clear to fight his European compatriot in the form of Alexander Gustafsson.
Well, goes to show that actually I can't say that. Never mind. Yeah. I was going to say tampering with witnesses, but that would be alleged tampering with witnesses.
Right. There nothing was proven. So there you go.
There you go.
Last story of the segment.
Last
story of the segment. UFC Hall of Famer Matt Serra got another win this week.
In MMA.
Got another win this week as he subdued a drunk drunk patron at a Las Vegas restaurant. So he has not only has he beaten George St. Pierre, but he's also
beating a drunk
guy at a Las Vegas restaurant. There you go. That's a Hall of Fame career for you.
It was. Did you see how beautiful his full mount was? It was like, yeah, he had full control there. Like, that's a man.
I saw that. And it was beautiful. Oh my goodness.
It was Hall of Fame material.
Yeah, well.
Because that can't be you, Ryan. It's okay.
Well, actually, versus a drunk guy, I'm thinking that
Oh, prove it. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, come on down to Pluckers in Plano.
Okay, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. Okay. We don't need to do that.
I am wearing a striped referee shirt from now on and just egging this to happen.
Okay, we are not going to do that. Actually, I'm censor beeping this whole segment. Just one. It's gonna sound like a flat line, a 40-second flat line.
All right. What do we have?
All right, those are your headlines. Let's look forward to the fight card for next week. Here we go. Well, this is the weekend of the Red Crested Stepchild. They have 2 back-to-back shows on Friday and Saturday night, competing with the UFC on Saturday night, who's going to be in Boise, Idaho. I don't know a whole lot about a lot of these fighters, but we are going to shout them out because they have a fight that matters to them. Bellator 202. Bud versus Nogueira, coming from Thackerville, Oklahoma. I actually passed through Thackerville about 2 weeks ago, KC.
Nice.
So I know where that is. It's actually a place.
I'm checking it out on the map.
It's like where the WinStar Casino is.
How many people are in there?
It's where the WinStar Casino is. It's in Thackerville, Oklahoma. So it's a 4-fight card. Valentin Moldavsky versus Ernest James. Chris Honeycutt versus Leo Lieta. Eduardo Dantas versus Michael McDonald, not the lead singer of the Doobie Brothers. Take this message to my brother.
I was like, times are hard now, man. Dude. Yeah.
I wish we could have got that clean. I was going to make that a drop. That was beautiful.
Yeah, that's my Michael McDonald impression. No, this is the Michael McDonald that used to fight in the UFC. He is now at Bellator, and he has a co-main event on Friday night. The main event is a featherweight 145-pound women's championship. Julia Budd versus Talita Nogueira. John, you got a flash fight pick?
I'm going with the Nogueira.
Really? All right. All right.
Underdogs, you know.
All right. I felt like Julia Budd was going to put the smash on the face, but you never know. Then coming on Saturday night, Bellator 203, Bellator Rome, coming from Foro Italico in Rome, Italy.
Nailed it.
Yeah. Simon D'Anna versus Michelle Martignoni. Maxim Rodu versus Simon Lapriozia. Will Fleury versus Alan Amdovsky. I'm butchering these names, dude.
I'm glad it's not me.
Like, are you guys looking at this run sheet? Because I'm like, Andrei Koreshkov versus Vaso Bakosevic. Bakosevic. Alessio Sakara versus Jamie Sloan. There you go. And Patricio Pitbull versus Daniel Weichel. For the featherweight 145-pound men's title. Patricio Pitbull, we saw him not too long ago. I think he got injured. This is like a rebooking of the fight, I believe. Okay, so Bellator 203 is up against UFC Fight Night, Dos Santos versus Ivanov, coming to you from Boise, Idaho.
I'll actually be pretty close to there on Saturday.
All right, maybe you can swing over and go because one of your homegirls is going to be fighting Alpha Cat Zingano versus Marion, the Belizean bruiser, Renault.
I'm actually going with Renault on this fight.
What? Seriously?
Cat is done.
Wow. John, do you have a fight pick on that?
I'm going with Zingano. I'm gunning for the vet.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Zingano as well. Miles Jury versus Chad Money Mendez. Chad Money is back from being suspended by the U.S. ADA, USADA, the anti-doping agency for the United States. Who you got? John.
I'm going to go with Chad Money Mendez this time. I'm going to see if he got it back.
KC.
I'm going Mendez here.
All right.
Even with the ring rust.
All right, I'm going Mendez as well. Miles Jury is a formidable guy, but Chad Mendez is just so strong. And this is his weight class, 145. The next fight, I've been looking forward since all day to say this, and so I'm glad that we're finally here. Randy Rude Boy Brown versus Nico the Hybrid Price. Rude Boy.
Grind boy.
Rude Boy. My Jamaican is terrible. It's terrible. You know, in my head, it sounded a lot better. Rude Boy.
Boo that man.
Rude Boy. Okay. He is from Jamaica, and so it's great. Like, that's awesome. I've not seen either one of these guys. No, I've seen Nico Price fight, so I'm going to go with Nico on this. Nico Price is my pick. John, who you got?
You know, there's another guy that was named Hybrid, and that was Brandon Shaw. And was it Brandon Shaw or was it?
No, I think it was Brandon Shaw. He was Glass Chin.
Yeah. So we're gonna go with the Rude Boy.
All right, KC.
You know what? Let's go the other guy.
Nico. All right.
I just can't say the hybrid.
All right. Dennis the Menace Bermudez versus Rick the Gladiator Glenn. This is going to be a good fight. I'm saying this is going to be fight of the night. It's my 50K contender.
Whoa.
Well, yeah. Given who else is fighting on this card, that's probably your best bet.
All right. Anybody has a pick? I'm going to go first. I'm going to say Rick Glenn is going to finish off Dennis Bermudez. Rick Glenn is the truth. Or the Gladiator.
Whoa.
I really dislike agreeing with you, but in this case, it only makes sense.
Well, since we're all on the logic tip here, I guess we'll go with that.
Oh, wow. Nobody's on Dennis Bermudez. He's still a great fighter. I say it's fight of the night. Yes. Yes, he is. All right. The co-main event appears to be Super Sage Northcutt versus the Barbarian Zach Attal. KC. Why are you picking Zach Attal?
Because I cannot like the blinking machine, Super Sage Northcutt. The dude's eyes freak me out.
John, who you got?
I'm going with Super Sage, man. I'm going to give him a chance. He's that kid who, good old all-American kid. Why don't you just go on out there and get knocked out?
Yeah.
Because you get took down. So, pretty much.
But you're going with Sage anyway.
Yeah, optimist. There you go.
Sage,
give the little kid a chance.
Sage is going to win this fight. Zach Attal is not going to be able to stop Sage. I think it'll be a decision, but Sage or Northcutt's going to win this fight. And
Sage is going to win.
In the main event of the evening, number 7 Junior Cigano dos Santos faces off against Blagoy Ivanov, who is a noob Sabat. So it is a risky fight for dos Santos coming back from his USADA. I was going to say suspension, but he was exonerated. So coming back from his, I don't know what you'd call it. Hiatus. Okay, we agree.
Spot me a Coke.
That right there.
Spot me a Coke.
That's right. You just witnessed us all simpatico. We are all on the same level there. Who has a pick? Ivanov or Dos Santos?
I'm going for Dos Santos. I look for them hands. I want to see the gypsy, see if he still has the hands.
KC?
You got to go Dos Santos.
I want to go Dos Santos. But I'm going Ivanov. I'm going Noob Sabat. I'm going to go Noob Sabat. This is going to be my pick. Blagoy Ivanov. You know what the rules are. Number 1.
Never talk about Fight Club.
Don't bet against the Russians.
And your rules have failed you time and time again, my friend.
That's all I'm saying. Going with Ivanov. So, all right. So that's it. Those are the fights coming up this weekend. There's a lot of MMA action. Follow us on social media. On Twitter, I'm at CST Ryan.
And I am at CST_KC.
And I am at Keys to Victory.
With an ES, right?
Yes, with an ES.
Okay.
I
You
should change that.
Yeah, I don't know if you can. I don't know if the other one is available. It may or may not be. You have to check out and see. You can check out our website at www.combatsportstalk.com. You can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Facebook, and Instagram. KC, what's your Instagram?
I hate you. Why? Every week. Let's go this week with
Obfuscated. Oh,
I hate
okay.
Just, you're
Obfuscated.
bad. Yes, it's OBFUSC. I don't even know how to spell my name. Leave me alone.
Yeah, I was just wondering why you were emphasizing the FU part of obfuscated.
I wrote.
I'm like, whoa.
Anywho, so
All right.
John Keys, where are you at on Instagram?
Yes, it's that keys to victory. Okay, same thing.
You're a hot mess.
Oh, that's so funny. And
Yeah, we're all there.
And I am at Combat Sports Talk. We now have merchandise. I am almost done with my design. I was pitching it last week. I'm almost done with the new design, so we'll be coming out very soon with the new design for our Combat Sports Talk line. And we added a new section for live events. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be with George for UFC 226. So we didn't do a live event on 226, but we will be back for 227.
Where were you?
So it was my wife's birthday, and so she, even though she was like, "You can go, I don't care," that was a trap.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. Okay, we were never going to see you again, Ryan, if you did that. Okay, that was going to be. We knew that.
So I sat next to my wife the entire night watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, watching my phone, looking for updates. But I wanted
As
to.
your wife was secretly wishing you were Terry Crews.
Okay.
Oh man, there's no love on this show.
You know what? I'm gonna let that one pass.
Don't worry, Ryan. This too shall pass.
It will. But I will tell you this weird thing that my wife did, and then we'll go. Weird thing that my wife did. It's in our house. It's you get everything you want on your birthday, whatever you want. So my wife was like, I want to have a family race. And so she's like, yes, a foot race. She wanted to have a foot race. And it's like, what, are you serious? And she's like, I want us all to go out to the track and I want us to time ourselves running a race. And so that's what we did. We went out to the track and we timed ourselves running a 100-meter dash. Everybody. She ran it. My 3 kids.
Did she beat you?
Our dog. No one beat me.
Oh, I want to see official times posted on the website.
I can post official times, and I took screenshots of all the times. So have all the times. I was the fastest, and there you go. Thank you guys for. Yeah, I was the fastest. So, yeah, I ran a 100-meter dash, and by the way, I am freaking sore 2 days later. I'm still sore. Like, I am so out of shape that I actually could – I can relate to Derek Lewis's back problems. Oh, my gosh.
Oh.
All right. There you go. Guys, thank you so much. We're going to get out of here. Our theme music is composed by Scott McCurry at scottdeancountry.com, and Casey Onyebuchi produced our lead-ins. I want to thank you for joining us for another edition of Combat Sports Talk. For Casey Onyebuchi and John Keys, I'm Ryan Smith, reminding you to keep your hands up, your chin tucked, and throw bombs. Welcome to
Ven conmigo.
Podcast Cha-Cha-Cha-Cha. All right. We're going to redo that.
I like it.
No.
Keep it.
Bienvenidos a todos. Mi nombre es Ryan Smith.
All right. This is what I'll
Mi
do.
nombre, Juan Chavez.
I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it at the end after the outro, okay? So that way.
Okay.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, here we go. Uno más. One more time.
All right.
Okay, how about 3, 2? Oh man, this is gonna be a great show. I'm just saying, it's gonna be a great one because we're already punch drunk and we ain't even started yet. Here we go. All right, 3, 2, 1.